Hi, Margaret. I know good and well to say, hey everybody, it's me, Margaret, like I always do, is improper grammar, but I feel like I'm trying to be in a Shakespearean play if I say, it is I, Margaret. Maybe I should come up with a different intro altogether. Hi, and welcome to Sheepishly Sharing, where I sheepishly share my successes and failures, which is pretty much the theme of what I have to show. I have notes this time. I'm actually organized because if you saw my Crafty Goals video, you saw that I am trying to be more organized in my life, and as a matter of fact, I'm trying to simplify. So since I have all these thoughts running around in my head, I thought I would simplify the process by capturing them down on paper. First of all, I will try to tell you that in my effort to simplify, I was going to shoot my video in pieces and parts on different days as it got done, so that I could just, put it all together and put it up on Tuesdays. Well, that didn't work out. As a matter of fact, the other day I shot some video wearing the sweater that Erin made, and I had technical difficulties, so that didn't work out. So, here I am wearing my mass-produced sweater. It is 100% merino wool, however, but it's very light because if you notice, I am outside today. We have terrific weather, and this is normal for us in January, but you know what? This is normal for us in January too. You never know what you're going to get. Okay, so in my quest for organization and an organized video production here, I thought that I would take my crafty goals, or actually all my goals that I talked about in that last video, and put the video into that format. Now this serves two purposes. One, keeps everything nice and orderly, but two, it keeps me accountable. So maybe, just maybe, the goals that I made in January can last a little longer. We'll see. So, with that being said, and remember that I am a former teacher, I kind of get the feeling that I'm giving you an evaluation, a report on my goals. So we will call this the report card. Okay, and now we're on to yarn, which was my crafty goals for this week. And it's actually been 2 weeks since I showed you anything, so let's see what I have. Alright, first of all, I have this little crocheted hat. Now this is nothing to write home about. This is something that I do when I have a little bit of yarn and want to do it fast. Like the whole hat takes maybe 30 minutes, pom-pom and all. It's 2 strands together, and I'm not real fond of this one. Generally, I like to use colors that are similar in, I think the word is tone. For example, I think a pink and a lavender would have looked better together than this contrasting purple. Although once I did do a black and white that I liked a lot. You have this wacky pom-pom going on here because I ran out of purple. So it came out like that, which I kind of like, just to be different. Kind of looks like a mohawk though, doesn't it? These are super, super thick and warm. So this is really good for charity hats, and that's exactly what this is. It's a charity hat. It is red heart. It was super stiff, and now it's much softer, much more comfortable to wear. So that was that. And if you'll notice, that fits into my crafty goal of using up my open skeins and scraps. So good job for me. And another one using up my open skeins and scraps was this hat. This is the, I haven't sewn the ends in. This is the Moss Stitch hat by Melodora. And I had as one of my goals to use the paid patterns that I've already purchased. And that includes books and magazines and whatnot. This is a free pattern, but I had it in my queue for ages, and I was kind of sorting through my queue and looking to see about my paid patterns, and I saw this and I thought, I'm going to do that. I have wanted to do this for years, and for some reason other projects pushed it out of my mind, and I saw it and I said I want to do it, and I really do like it. It was fun. I like the moss stitch. This is the crab stitch, and I think I remember it said to do it down the bottom too, but I don't like doing the crab stitch. It's backwards single crochet, and yeah, it's nice that it makes a little ridge or whatever, but I don't like it. So this is Red Heart. This was Red Heart Super Saver, and this was Hobby Lobby. I love this yarn, and boy, you can really feel the difference in these acrylics. But anyway, so it did get washed, and also this is another charity hat. Now, one of my crafty goals was to use the my existing yarn. I'm trying not to buy any yarn, and I know a lot of y'all are on the same bandwagon with me. And Ross, who is Funko Boy on Instagram and Smells Great Guy on YouTube, he had posted a picture on Instagram that said 20% off entire purchase, including sale items at Michael's. And I saw that early this morning, and I was out and about today, and I'd like for you to know that I did not stop at Michael's purposely. I'm trying to stick to my goal. So I personified my yarn in my crafty goals, and I said, imagine how your yarn feels all locked up in that cabinet, being waiting patiently. And this is Papa Yarn, and he is very proud of me because I used Jamie, who appeared with him in that video. Now, Jamie was this yarn right here. It's actually called Jamie by Lion Brand. And, well, here, look at it, and then I'll tell you about how this hat came to be. The yarn I'm using for this hat, it's 2 strands of this Jamie yarn. Again, in my stash forever. I got it on sale from Amazon, and it was, I want to say it was like $1.50. It was very cheap. So 100% acrylic. Really liked working with it. It's great yarn. I'm not sure if it's discontinued or anything, but it was fun. It's in the color Mardi Gras, which these are not true Mardi Gras colors. Remember, my family's from New Orleans, so I know these things. But it's fun. It's great yarn. Like it a lot. So it's a number 3. What is that? Is that a DK? And so it's lighter, and one of my goals is to work with lighter yarn. Actually, that's a little bit heavier than what I really want to learn to work with. And I had my, I think it was my Knitter's Pride, one of my nickel-plated sets, and that I was trying to make some circular mittens. Now, I knew that I wasn't ready for circular mittens because I don't do magic loop well. I'm only so-so with double-pointed needles, but I gave it a go anyway, and I gave it a go with this little skinny yarn, which was just a recipe for disaster. So I ended up having to pull that out. So I held 2 strands together, and I thought I would make the hat fit for a boyfriend pattern. But I read the pattern wrong. It's ribbing all the way up like this, but I glanced at it real quick and went to sit down because you don't need to take the pattern with you because it's so simple. And it's actually 3 knit stitches, 2 purls, and I somehow got it in my head 3 knits and 1 purl. So when I got to the time for the decreases, the math didn't work out, and I couldn't figure out how to make it work out. So I was getting all flustered. But then I remembered that I did with the Addy Express a square hat like this, and did a 3 needle bind off with a crochet hook for the top, and so I came out with this. So this was a save, and I also learned another skill from this hat. Okay, most of the time I do a long tail cast on. And what you may know, if you're familiar with that, is you pull out as much yarn as you're going to need and you mix it with the yarn that's coming from the skein. You hold it like this. You've got one strand here, and you're wrapping it onto your needle. Well, that's fine as long as your yarn matches, but in this case it was self-striping. So as I pulled some in this direction and was mixing it with the yarn coming from this direction, there were two colors that were being knitted together, and it's not the look that I wanted. So I learned how to do a cable cast on for this. Now, just as with everything I do, sometimes I have to learn the hard way. The person I watched on the video did not tell me that you could cable cast on with knits and purls. So what I should have done was gone 3 knits on the cast on and 1 purl. And then you would have had a, well, this kind of, I don't know if you can tell, and yes, I have to sew my ends in. I don't know if you can tell, but it sort of flares out just a touch down here. And I think that would have been alleviated had I purled when I was supposed to. So live and learn. But that was another one of my crafty goals, which was knitting skills in general. So yeah, I learned to cable cast on. Now this was an exciting discovery for me. All right, tiny needles, tiny yarn. I had been practicing with that, not doing so great. I discovered in those failed mittens that I kept dropping stitches left and right, and I literally had to sit with a crochet hook in my lap so that I could repair dropped stitches. And all of a sudden I remembered when I first started learning to knit that I found greater success with bamboo needles because of the drag. And the nickel-plated needles are fast, they're slick. And I thought, maybe I need to be practicing with bamboo needles. So I had bought some bamboo 16-inch 3mm needles a while back, long before I was ready to do this. So I dug them out and I completed a sock head hat. Da-da-da! I feel like we need to hear trumpets blaring. I did great. I'm so proud of it. And this was Big Lots yarn. Here, watch this little clip. The yarn I'm using for my sock head hat is actually a Big Lots yarn that has been in my stash forever. It was only $1. But as we've discussed before with Big Lots, it gives you a generic description of what's in it. They call it mixed fiber, and they tell you maybe what's in it. Sometimes it says it's mixed fiber, and you can tell it's got wool in it, but you don't see the word wool there. It's very unusual, but in this case, I like it a lot. I don't think there's any nylon in it. It's not stretchy, not too stretchy. It has a little stretch to it. But I love the colors. I think it's working out well, and it's moving out of my stash, so I'm glad I could put it to good use. So I was really proud of myself for the sock head hat. And while I was working on the sock head hat, no, it was before I was working on the sock head hat, I get a message in Ravelry from Diane, Farm Wife 99. And she too was practicing with tiny needles, tiny yarn, and she ran across this pattern and shared it with me, or gifted it to me, I guess I should say. It's called the Easy Scarf by Martina Behm, I think B-E-H-M. And I've since seen some other people on other podcasts that are doing this, and it really is, I mean, the method to do it is very easy, but of course the challenge comes with the dexterity. So I was thinking, oh good, well I want to do that, but I need to practice. But then I had the discovery about the bamboo needles. So what did I do? I rushed to Amazon, and I found the proper needles. This calls for 3mm, 32 inches. It says 80 centimeters, but 32-inch circulars. And so I didn't have those, of course. So I put in an order for those, and they came in. Now, I was going to tell you this in acquisitions. I was so organized, I had it done like that. That's the wrong thing. But the ones I chose were Hiya. And I do like knitting with them. The cord was really wound up and bouncy, and so I had to dip it in some hot water, and it relaxed just fine, and so it's great. I really like the needles. They're not too pointy and they're not too dull, and they have just enough drag and whatever. So much so that I started it, Diane. Look at me. So I did it. Now I did get stuck. I had accidentally slipped a stitch and didn't know what I had done, and of course my knitting guru Erin, Gimme Yarn 418, helped me out with that, and her little trick that she told me did fix it. I can't even find where I had that mistake. So I am going great guns on that, and I am thrilled with it, Diane. So now I'm going to be stalking your Ravelry to see how yours is coming out, or if it's already come out. Have you already finished it? I gotta go see. Now the color, what I'm going to do is do it in two colors. The picture shows it in that kind of gradient type thing. But let me show you this schematic. It's done in two parts. You see that? So I'm going to do one part in this blue color and one part in this pale gray. And this is Loops and Threads Wool-like. It is, how much, what's the breakdown on this? It is 85% acrylic and 15% nylon, and it has a great feel to it. And I have recently decided, now you know I buy a lot of acrylic because I'm mostly a charity knitter. I say, as I sit here with this, it's going to be for me, but mostly a charity crafter. And of course acrylic is good for two reasons. One, because it's affordable, but two, you always have to consider the people that you're giving it to and how they'll be able to care for it. And if they're going to a homeless shelter or whatever, people are going to be tossing it in the washer and tossing it in the dryer. And so you need something that can handle that. But I have found that I can't wear acrylic. I have a hat that Olivia Bennett made for me. I wanted it a giveaway. And it's my favorite hat, and I wear it all the time, and it doesn't bother me in the least, besides the fact that it's a navy blue, and it's such a classic style. I should have brought it out here. I'll take a picture and insert it. And it's just very comfortable to me. Well, that's because it's made of nice yarn. Now, I made the hat with the sheep around it. And I love that hat, and yet it just bothers me, and it has been washed and dried and has fabric softener, and there's just this feel to it. So you know what, I'm out of order. Let me finish my works in progress. I am in the process of finishing up tutorials, AliExpress tutorials for fingerless mitts. This is people request this of me all the time, and I did not have a clue how to do it. So I had to do some research, and I have two versions coming out. That's what I'm working on right now. I have the easiest version, which has an unfinished thumb here, and then I have a more advanced version, which gives you a crochet edging around here, which should make it easier if you want to add a thumb later. So that's another work in progress, and I'm in the editing stage now, so hopefully I can get that up this week. So now we can talk about that acrylic yarn and wool yarn issue that I was mentioning before. I saw a pattern called My Favorite Things Scarf, and one of my goals is color work And by the way, for my report card, I did not do any color work practicing these past 2 weeks. But this it would make an ideal scarf to do with your scraps. But unfortunately, most of my scraps are acrylic, and if I'm going to go to that much trouble making that thing, I'm going to wear it myself, and it needs to be comfortable. Therefore, I'm going to have to purchase yarn for that. Now, I'm not ready to break my yarn fast, so this will be down the road. But I have my eye on, and it calls for a worsted, but suggests if you want it not so bulky to go to a DK, which is what I want to do because I think I would be overwhelmed with that large bulk. So I have my eye on Knit Picks Swish DK. It's roughly $5 a 50 gram ball, and that's not outrageous by any stretch of the imagination, but I have this thing about wanting to buy all my yarn on sale. I get a Knit Picks newsletter, but how do you, I don't find that it's telling me all the sales, or I don't know, I just need to know when Knit Picks Swish goes on sale. So if anybody sees that, will you let me know? Because that's when I'll break down and buy that. Because I really want to practice by doing that scarf. It's very individual. The pattern gives you suggested things to put in each little section, but of course you don't have to. And I don't know, I just thought it looked like a lot of fun. So it reminds me of an Advent scarf or even the temperature scarf that a lot of you are doing, where you just do a little bit at a time and you end up with this wonderful finished project. So that's that. So now let's talk about acquisitions. No, I did not buy any more yarn exactly. I still followed my guidelines. But I told you in the Crafty Goals that I had ordered this already because it falls under the heading of my guidelines. I will buy yarn if it's for something specific that I don't have the yarn for. And my daughter had requested something made out of this big, thick yarn. So I bought it on sale with a discount coupon. It was a coupon code, so that fits into the guidelines very well. However, it calls for 25 millimeter needles. So I know that I have trouble with teeny tiny yarn and teeny tiny needles, so I'm interested to see how I'm going to do with big fat yarn and big fat needles. These are Knitter's Pride, and they feel really nice, to be honest with you. There were other ones, there were plastic ones. I wanted the circular needle kind, and we're just going to see. I might have to do it in panels, I'm not sure. I do have a pattern picked out for the blanket, but I'm not quite ready to cast this on yet, mainly because I'm working so hard on that easy shawlette that Diane sent me. So I'm kind of scared to go back and forth for fear I'll mess up my gauge. So anyway, we'll see how that turns out. So I bought these. I bought those Hiya Sharps. Those 3 millimeter. Well, they're not sharps, just Hiya bamboo circular knitting needle. And then this yarn came in. So that's all the acquisitions that I have. I had no idea I recorded so much information, and quite frankly, I'm tired of looking at myself. So I'm going to break this up and we'll have a tea time talk tomorrow. Bye!